Good morning, everybody. It's the second day of January, and it is going to be a cold one. High of 16 today. No school reports of closings. I don't even know if they have school today. Anyway, you're looking at a picture from downtown Traverse City, I believe, Miss Kathy, just before midnight. And, they said hundreds of people on the TV, and somebody had asked Crystal on Facebook. Crystal Frost Anderson is the one who organizes this and has for years, tirelessly. And she showed a picture of an above shot of the crowd, but she didn't answer the question. Though it certainly wasn't as many as there was for the light parade for Christmas. And so let's might as well roll on here. Sure. And so anyway.
Yeah, it seemed that we were able to get a lot closer to the ball than I've ever been able to for that, getting there that late. I do think that the crowds were way down this year.
I was walking up to the intersection, and honestly, I thought we were a block short. I look up, and there it is. Mm-hmm. You could have gotten 60 feet closer to. If you would have gotten 60 feet closer, you'd have been crushed by the ball, by the cherry.
Yeah, but so, you looked cute, you must say, with your little crown or tiara. Well, light up.
The saddest thing about it, you see it flashes like that, it's like, if you suffer from epilepsy, look out. So anyway, this segment we're going to show you, and I wish I could give you more stuff, but our computer's rebooting. It is not been restarted in a long time, I suspect. I don't know anything about computers. Let's show right now the path to partnership. That is with Karen Field. She is a couples counselor. We'll talk about premarital counseling, do's and don'ts, forming a relationship, and more stuff. Let's roll it. Karen Field.
We are with Karen Field, and Karen is with us. Pathway to Partnership.
The Path to Partnership.
The Path to Partnership. I wanted to get that right. The Path to Partnership, as in TO and .com.
Correct.
All right. Do you have any plans for New Year's Eve?
New Year's Eve, yeah, we're going to the cherry ball drop.
Oh, are you? Yeah, you do that every year. And then here's Dave. He's on camera. Say hi, Dave. And
hi, Dave.
So you're going to go down. Gosh, he's handsome.
I know, right?
Yeah, right. So you're going to go down there, and are you going to start at Mr. Lane's house?
We might do that, yeah. We're actually going to the Sips and Giggles at the Old Town Playhouse.
Oh, that'll be fun, too.
A little comedy.
Well, we want to talk a bit about your business and a little bit about your education. Let's start with that.
Okay, I went to Western Michigan, and I got my master's degree in marriage and family therapy. And I do professional counseling for couples. And that's what I do. I love it.
We've talked before, so I'm going to go ahead and repeat some of the questions I'd asked, but we never had your lovely face on before and on WGML, so let's do it all again.
Okay.
When people first meet, you said there are some kind of do's and don'ts. For instance, don't let your heart be guided by the attraction physically.
Yeah, chemistry will kill it. You lose your sanity if your brain is literally filled with hormones, and so you're not clearly thinking. You're on drugs essentially, so you don't make a lot of really good decisions.
Well, that's why we could never get along, because you were just blinded by my handsomeness.
Exactly.
And we also spoke before for people who are planning on getting married or haven't gotten engaged yet, and you guys are engaged too, by the way.
We got engaged in October.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And you have since, let's go ahead off the beaten track a little bit. You have set a date and a place.
We have set a date, yes, and the place is sort of pinned down.
Yeah.
Let's go to Dave on that one.
It's a little up in the air. We're still contemplating eloping to Bermuda, and then just having an after party here on the beach somewhere.
Yeah, in the summertime, so Bermuda would be okay.
Oh, it would be gorgeous.
It's not tropical, but it is a very wonderful place. I've never actually been there, so
it's beautiful.
Premarital counseling, that's what I was going to get to. I think you recommend it. I think it's a good idea. Why and what do you do?
Premarital counseling is a really great idea, but a lot of people who are engaged don't do it because they think we're in love and we don't need counseling. Everything's great. Everything will work out fine after the wedding. so they a lot of times won't come in. But what I do is have people learn how to communicate with each other in a way that works for both people, and then also teach them how to negotiate and make deals and all that kind of stuff.
This was back in the 80s, so 35 years ago, and I was in college, and what I noticed was your degree or where you were headed, your future, was looked at by the opposite sex. They were like, oh, he's pre-med. Oh, he's, Now, you've come a long way, baby, right? This was a long time ago, but that was part of it, and I'm told that's part of the nesting process.
It's part of the instinct, the survival instinct is part of it is procreate, and procreate has to do with who you're with. So the status of the person that you're with will help you to survive. So if the person has more resources, it could be their education, it could be their money, it could be their height, it could be their status in the community. All of those things will make the opposite sex look more attractive to you and make your inner cave woman or caveman more interested in the person.
So what kind of questions do you ask? Just those in generality?
What do you mean?
In other words, do you ask them about what their goals are and some of the common things? Ask, what do you ask? I'll leave that to you.
A lot of times I ask them, like, tell me why you're getting married. And some of the answers I get are pretty funny.
I'm waiting.
I heard a woman one time, she said, oh, well, we dated and then we broke up, and I dated a bunch of other people, and he was the one I liked the best. And I was like, that's not really a good reason to get married.
Out of all the fish in the sea, you like that one, I guess.
Settling.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know what? Is it practical though? I mean, it sounds like it's a little bit practical. What answer do you want to hear? What do you like to hear?
Because we're in love, because I want to spend the rest of my life with the person, because they make me want to be a better person, they bring out the best in me, I don't want to live without them. Those are all good reasons, but it's more convenient if we live together. We save money. That's not really a good reason.
Yeah.
I've heard that one too.
Well, she's pregnant. And my parents were married 60 years, and that's why they got married. I mean, that's what you did back in the late 40s, early 50s. So when we talk about that in ways that people run into stumbling blocks, I thought the number one thing way back when was they're going to argue about sex. I'm told it's not.
It's oftentimes it's not sex. It's finances. It's,
money.
It's mostly just the little things. I call them, they're pet peeves, but they're just the little things that they build up over time. So he leaves the cap off the toothpaste, or they don't fold the laundry the right way, or those kinds of things where they just build up and build up and build up, and they don't know how to communicate that they're upset with it. So it just keeps building, and the resentment grows.
Yeah, I would like when people bring that up, because that way it might be something silly like you leave the silverware drawer half open all the time. It's like, well, why don't you say that? But I guess what I'm hearing is you say that these issues fester.
Yeah. I had a couple one time. It's one of my favorite stories. The noise of the coffee grinder was like nails on a chalkboard to her, and she never said anything to him about it. And in her mind, she thought, well, it's not really that big of a deal, and I shouldn't be worried about it, and I don't want to bother him because then he won't be able to drink coffee, and that's not fair, and I don't want to be that kind of person, and I just need to get over it. And so she never said anything to him. So in our session, we talked it through, and she told him why it bothered her and how upset it made her every morning, and she'd get over it as soon as it was done, but every day. And after about a minute of him being like, why didn't you ever tell me? He finally said, I can make the coffee when you're in the shower. I can make the coffee when you're blow drying your hair. And at the grocery store, they sell a product called pre-ground coffee.
It doesn't taste good, and you know it.
Yeah.
But you just go ahead.
And the next week she came back and she was like, for 12 years I put up with that. Why did I do that? All I had to do was say something to him one time, and it's done. It's not a thing anymore.
Right. Well, here's the $1 million question as we go to Dave. Dave?
Yes.
How did you guys meet? Tell us your story.
Actually, way back in '83, we went to high school together and dated for possibly a brief time, and that was enough to send a message to my brain. But it was years and years and years later, as I was relocating to Traverse City, a mutual friend had given me contact information on Karen. And
We're going to break right there. I got to get rid of
They're crying.
sounded like me.
Yeah, the way we go. So let's turn our attention to Dave, the lucky guy. Tell us about how you met.
Well, we'd actually met back in high school, back in the early 80s, and had crossed paths briefly, and life and so forth happened for 30 some odd years, and I found myself relocating to Traverse City. And a mutual friend had made a connection. We refer to him as Cupid. And as I came up here one time, we went out for coffee and to Empire Bluffs, and that was it.
That was it.
I saw you at the parking lot.
And you went, wow, was that really Karen?
Yeah.
Why didn't the sparks fly the first time? It's a fair question.
I had a crush on him. We had a 9th grade gym class together.
Oh, come on. Did they do the co-ed thing back then?
Yeah.
Ladies?
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a
dance
crush on
lessons.
him, and then he left school and went to the Leelanau school. So he left, and I never heard from him again. And I always wondered, whatever happened to Dave?
What happened to that guy?
What happened to him?
So you're going to settle on that day and time, and I'm sorry I interrupted. Dave.
No
Go ahead.
worries.
I didn't. How do you do that yourself? How do you decide to? Thank you. How do you decide to analyze that yourself? I mean, was Dave intimidated by the fact that you help people in relationships and marriage? And oh my God, what am I doing?
No, actually, it's really interesting. Is other people that I've dated, I've said that I'm a marriage counselor, and I get this like recoiling, and they sort of lean back. And when I told him, he leaned forward, and he thought it was very interesting.
Well, that is interesting. Yeah, that would be my reaction is, oh no, she's going to analyze me and figure me out. I don't
No.
want to marry my mom.
No, I don't analyze him because I'm too busy analyzing myself.
No, is that right? Give us a name of the website again and how people can get a hold of you as we're talking.
It's thepathtopartnership.com, and the phone number is 231-660-1017.
All right. And so you take private or group sessions and
Yep, individual and couples counseling.
couples counseling. Good. Well, tell me a little bit more about what you like to do. What do you guys have in common?
Ice skating last night.
We went ice skating last
Aw.
night. Yep, we're going cross-country skiing in the winter.
Get out and enjoy.
Yeah.
Hiking and nature.
You're for the time that I've known you, Dave. You're kind of an outdoorsy person, you know.
Yeah.
We get talking, and it's like, oh my gosh, you're like an adventurer. You've done all these other things, and we've talked with Karen before, and about how you have to bring new blood into the relationship. Because I've been in a relationship where I'm here. What do you want me to do? Oh, you don't want to go for a walk? Okay, we won't go for a walk. Let's just watch TV. And Kathy, here's a little plug for her. She has all these outside interests: photography, cross-country skiing, mountain biking, all these other things that she does, and she's very comfortable doing that, and I'm okay with that. But that brings up the bigger question of the adjustment. You say that you can't just go head over heels infatuated with somebody, but at the same time, you take the good, you take the bad. And I'm not going to break into a song. But it is that way because I see Kathy and all of her attributes and very respected in the Farmers Association for Michigan. But there's other things just so minute I won't even mention them. You like that? and it's true though. You just kind of think, well, this is a perfect age. I can deal with that. Can I deal with that? Is that a deal breaker? I think as one counselor once said.
Yeah, a lot of people will compromise their deal breakers. So they'll say, oh, I don't want anyone who smokes. And then they'll meet somebody that they're very attracted to who smokes. And they'll be like, well, as long as he doesn't smoke inside, it's fine.
Yeah.
So they'll compromise on their deal breakers. And then you can only put up with so much.
But you're saying that's okay.
And for so long. Well, I'm saying if you have a deal breaker, that
obviously,
technically breaks the deal.
If you have a deal breaker, I guess so.
But people will fudge their deal breakers. Well, it's not really a deal breaker
Yeah.
because you're cute. So I'll let it slide.
Yeah, they just keep me out of this conversation. You really should. So, where are you guys gonna nest? I guess you were in Colorado, I believe you said.
Montana.
Montana,
Yeah.
and where do you guys want to settle down? If the word settle down even applies anymore.
We're staying here.
I'd say right here. This has been around the world, and I've been drawn back to this area many times. There's just something about the peninsula and this area that
Well, we didn't talk much about
speaks to me.
What do you do?
A couple things. I'm working with the VA with the Vet to Vet program. We're meeting on the porch. I think that's on 8th Street, 5:30 on Fridays. It's peer to peer. It's vets, and we're just taking care of each other. That's part of the motto is teach some, learn some, and we just help each other out. And whether it be through it's not really associated. It's not on the VA grounds, but it's veterans taking care of ourselves.
Where did you serve? What branch, etc.?
U.S. Navy nuclear subs, Cold War. East
Trident
Coast.
missiles. Yeah.
Just below that. It was before the Ohio class. It was an earlier Francis Scott Key.
Wow.
And I've worked in aerospace, had my own company for 15 years, doing woodworking, glasswork, metalsmithing. And then just a rare opportunity came up. I got to go to Iraq.
Lucky you.
Yeah, of my own free will. When it was an
thank you,
independent
you know.
contractor to support the U.S. and coalition troops. And it was an experience. Been there, done that, got the T-shirt.
I have to ask this because it's just a silly question probably, but did you meet her parents for the first time? Had you met before? What was
No,
that?
actually,
Karen's laughing. This is going to be good. This is going to be good.
This first day, basically the first day, we'd gone to the farmer's market and ran into him downtown and had dinner with him the first night. I mean, that was
Really?
that was right out of the chute. But
Not only that, my brother and his wife as well.
right, I got the whole family.
You don't seem like a guy who would be intimidated by that.
No, I really enjoyed it. It's nice to be in a big family again, and it's a beautiful situation. I love it.
Yeah. All right. Now we get to hear Karen's version of this old We have to decipher the giggles and had you ever met his parents before, and where you are? She's blushing.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
No, I have never met his parents.
No, they're no longer with us.
They're no longer with us.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
but I've met his brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brother and sisters.
And sisters.
Yes.
Yes.
And
But I have not met his children yet, so that's on the calendar for later.
yeah, sure. How old are your kids? I mean, I don't mean to get personal here. I'm just
28,
making conversation.
28, 24, and 22.
Are they spread out then? Or-
They're all in Texas, and they all want out.
They all want out of Texas?
Yeah.
No, seriously, you're serious.
Yeah, they want out.
I have never heard anything except great from Texas. Why would you want out?
Because I'd spent so much time there, and they've traveled, and they know that there's other stuff besides
Right.
Texas.
Yeah.
So,
I don't like spiders, snakes, nor scorpions.
oh well, then don't
Yeah,
go to Texas.
I don't think that would necessarily be the place for me. So tell us more about your work. I mean, where do you meet people? You're in the Traverse City area, obviously, but let's expound on that a little bit. I think it's interesting.
Okay. I have an office on Garfield, and people can come in and usually meet for 75 minutes, and we talk about all kinds of stuff, and I help them through their issues and problems.
What will they find on your website? The pathway to
The path to
the
partnership.
path to I'll never
The
get that
path
right.
to partnership.
The
.com.
path to partnership.com. I'm such an idiot. I usually write those down, and I have a little cheat card
That's all
because
right.
I thought I'd actually remember after talking to you how many times.
Many.
So do you have anything on the website that people can look at, or maybe a self-help or a test or conversation starter?
Yeah, if you look on my website, which is thepathtopartnership.com,
I heard that.
you can find under free stuff, there's articles that I've written and podcasts from previous shows. And there's also an opportunity to sign up for my online program, which is called Partnership Bootcamp. It's 50 days. Oh, dog. There's 50 days on the path to partnership, and it goes through different things to see if you're a good partner. So a lot of times people will be trying to decide, should I stay in this relationship or should I leave? And most of the time people will think it's my partner who has the problem. So if you do this partnership boot camp, you can see what you're doing that doesn't work, and you can shift your behavior and turn things around.
Do you give people homework?
I do give people homework.
Oh, I
Do
knew
they
that.
do it? Not very often.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Oh, we meant to. I knew you were going to ask, but that's what happens. What do you ask people to do?
I usually have people just try to notice things, like just notice what you're thinking, notice what happens to you when this certain thing happens, or, try communicating differently. Try not blurting everything out that comes to your mind.
One thing that we spoke of before was the guy who wants to, in the typical, wants to fix the problem. Wife comes home and says, "Oh, jeez, it's been a terrible work. My boss is asking me to do too much." And immediately, I'll jump in and say, "Well, have you talked to your boss about it? Well, have you talked to the shop steward about it? Have you, well, you should do this. You should do this. You should do this." No, you shouldn't.
That does not go well for you, does it?
No.
No.
But I'm a very slow learner. So it's something that has to be in the conscious right up front too, because you will fall back to those habits all the time. You want to fix it.
Yeah.
She just wants to unload it.
Yeah, she just wants to unload it. So how you can help her fix it is just let her unload it. Just like hold a bucket and let her vomit into the bucket, whatever she has to say. And then ask her, is there more? Is there more? Anything else? What else about that?
One thing that we talked about on last week's show was the Karen Field, by the way, is our guest, along with her fiance, the Handsome Dave. He'll now forever be known as the Handsome Dave. The depression, whether it be grief or whatever, we're on the holiday season. I know that's kind of common. Do you have any recommendations for that, or are you more relationship based?
It's more relationship based, but I can help individuals as well if they've got something going on. A lot of the times it has to do with the thought process and like what something will happen and then you'll interpret it a certain way, and that interpretation is what you're basing everything off of, and the interpretation may or may not be accurate. So if you can sort of shift and look from a different point of view, oftentimes you can find a lot of release and a lot of healing.
As the guy in the relationship tries to fix things, sometimes we take it to heart too. She's upset. She's mad. Oh, what did I do? Guilty conscience, I guess I'll call it.
Do you take it personally, or you feel badly that she's upset?
No, you take it personally. You swear you did something, and in some cases it is. You say, "What's wrong?" And she goes, "Nothing." "What's wrong?" "Nothing." Oh yeah. Want to bet? "Oh, let's sit down and talk." I mean, what do you do there?
Right.
Here, have another glass of wine.
Here's some chocolate.
Here's some, just throw chocolate at her and keep moving. I heard that somewhere.
Yeah, that's not the professional advice.
No, it's probably not.
Professional advice usually has to do with having a conversation, and talking is usually the last thing people want to do with the person that they're having an upset with. So usually they'll talk to somebody else instead. So rather than me saying to you, "Hey, this thing that you're doing is bothering me," or "This thing that is going on is upsetting me," I'll talk to somebody else about it and find out what they think I should do, and talk, instead of talking to the person who can actually do something about it. So it really is a lot of overcoming your instinct to avoid talking to the person that is causing you the problem, because we don't like confrontation. And so there's ways to have a conversation like that is not confrontational at all.
Well, here's something that I'm going to bring up. People will go, "Uh-huh," and nod their head. Your relatives, your parents, somebody else gets involved and says, "Did you ever notice that your husband or your wife or yeah. Advice.
If the family members are
Yeah, they're critical, and you know that you know better than they do what their faults are.
So you don't need to hear it from your family.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you should have a conversation with that person.
With the family member.
Yeah, and say, "It bothers me when you speak about my spouse that way."
Wow.
Direct honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a
concept.
Yeah. We now go to therapist Handsome Dave. And is that anything like that ever played into your situation where you find that your friends or somebody doesn't necessarily like somebody that you're with or dating?
Yeah, but that's not my problem. I'm not
you're right.
responsible for their thoughts and actions.
You're absolutely right.
So I just accept what they tell me and do what I have to do.
Well, the other thing that plays into this is very helpful is that Karen is perfect.
Yeah, like Mary Poppins.
Okay, before we go.
Practically
Yep,
perfect.
like a hot Mary Poppins.
Okay, Dave.
Practically perfect.
What's one thing Karen does that drives you insane?
Dun, 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 dun. Wow.
Is he a smart man? We'll find out
Stay tuned.
right now. ThePath2Partnership.com. I got it right.
Also, the Path to Partnership has a Facebook page.
Okay, so you can go there and type that in and get your information.
Exactly.
Well, Happy New Year. Enjoy yourselves down at the Big Cherry T-Ball Drop. I know that it's going to be a little chilly this year, but good
All right.
for you. Good for you guys.
We'll bring our hand warmers. We'll be fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Hopefully you found that helpful. I just couldn't believe how many times during that I got the name wrong. I just, I know to write these things down. Here's your forecast for today. About 16 for a high today with scattered snow to the north. That would be, I would assume, the Petoskey and Straits area. Everybody else is going to see a little bit of sunshine. As a matter of fact, you saw the moon.
Just now, it was low in the sky, big moon. A little bit hazy, but thinking it's going to be a pretty sunrise. So if you're somewhere where you can see the sunrise, look out.
All right, also for Wednesday, we are looking for a low of 5. And then tomorrow it's going to warm up to all of 15. It looks like that for an awful long time.
Tomorrow's Wednesday.
What did I say?
You said for Wednesday, low of 5.
Yeah, into Wednesday. Midnight.
Tomorrow's Wednesday.
Tuesday night, really Wednesday, low of 5. Okay. I don't know. That's a good question, actually. Tuesday night's low, I guess, would be 5 into Wednesday. Wednesday, 12 to 21 with some scattered snow showers. Go figure. And boy, aren't you happy? I know you are. Lake effect on Thursday. And we can scroll down and take a look at how much lake effect, because we had that discussion on social media over the weekend. Lake effect snow, and they had the winter storm warning in effect until 4, and then they said, well, winter storm warning in effect till 6. Well, they don't know when lake effect's going to stop, and I get that. I don't criticize anybody, the National Weather Service, for that. I get it. Anyway, winter weather advisory for Charlevoix, Antrim, and Kalkaska till 7 tonight, and 3 to 6 inches of snow are possible. Maybe, might be, could be.
I love lake effect. Could be 1 inch.
Could
and
be
then
this
12
is
inches.
the other thing.
You don't know.
And far from me to be critical, but winter weather advisory right below that, after Charlevoix, Antrim, Kalkaska, right below that, winter weather advisory for Grand Traverse and Wexford.
Yep.
3 to 6 inches of snow. So, anyway, Benzie, Benzonia, Leelanau, those counties right on the Lake Michigan shoreline, you could be looking at another 3 to 6 inches of snow. And looking ahead to the weekend, it doesn't really change at all. Well, actually, next Monday. Oh, look at this. They're watching to see if there's a storm. Watching. That's so cute. Watching storm. Well, I'm glad somebody is. High maybe 34.
Wow. That'll feel like a heat wave. I was thinking about the lake effect snow. It reminds me of those old grab bags you used to get when you were a kid. Remember, they'd have, we'd go to Ben Franklin, and for 10 cents or something, you could get a grab bag, and you didn't know what was in it. It was like a paper bag, lunch bag.
I don't remember that.
Then you'd open it up, and inside it could be like a little teeny prize. Or you open up, it could be something big,
You're reminding me of Cracker Jack, but they were always small prizes.
They were always the same. Yeah, these were like, you didn't know. You could win big,
Really?
you could win little.
Gosh darn it, another part of my youth I missed out on. Here's something I found interesting is that our neighbors over on Webster and Walnut, right? And maybe you notice this, while walking the dogs, I see that these people have had their front, this is 3 weeks ago, I'm guessing, right? They had their front lawns plowed. All the snow was pushed back, and I went, huh, and how much snow do they think we're going to get? And now I look at their front yard plowed out, and I think, what do they know that I didn't know? I mean, plowing the whole front yard. I had a neighbor one time. This was absolutely hilarious. Tom. And he got so sick of the snow. He was like me, I guess. Why am I living here? Yeah, it's a matter of time, folks. It won't be forever. I don't like winter as much as I used to. I loved Christmas, a white Christmas, but I digress. So Tom is next door, and he is so fed up with winter. Snow blowed, I'm not kidding, residential area, snow blowed his whole yard. His whole yard. You could see the grass. Everybody else.
Where did it go? Where did he put it?
Anywhere but his lawn. He just kind of threw it in the backyard, in the side yard, and he was just so sick of it. He snowblowed his lawn.
I want to see some grass, eh?
Of course, we have to tell the story one more time about Jack Lane's dad. He got really upset about the snow on the roof, and so he got up there with a snowblower. You heard me right, on the roof with the snowblower. And Jack describes, I will never forget this story. His dad didn't know, because the snow was being blown, that shingles were also being picked up by the snowblower. Don't snowblow your roof. And the other thing, I realize if you have a low pitch, and we have a home that's low pitch in Interlaken, and I get removing the snow, but I don't see really well-constructed homes whose roofs cave over this much snow. And I think that it melts, turns to ice, doesn't drip, bad ventilation in your attic or whatever.
Yeah.
And now then it stacks up, and then you have ice dams. Oh, funny story again. I go to Ace Hardware, and they have these bricks, these size of a hockey puck. Simply throw them on your roof, right?
Yeah.
And first of all, you have to do a pretty good shot. Throw them, this 2-story house I did. Throw it up there, and it melts the snow, and it advertises. And if somebody had good luck with these, I'm happy for you. But throw them up there, and it will create a groove down through the ice. And so when it melts, it won't back up. It will just go down. It didn't work.
Like a river. Oh.
Yeah, I think basically they fell off the roof sometime in the summer, because it certainly didn't do that.
Yeah.
But
Maybe you have to
anyway,
have a certain pitch or something. I don't know.
well,
Well,
this was a good pitch. I don't know why it didn't work, but I think the obsession over getting the roof snow off your roof might be, I don't know, maybe a little overkill. I'm not sure.
But that happens. I remember when I was a kid, you could go through the bathroom window and get up on the roof, and my dad was out there with a shovel. It was like a spade. He was out there with the spade, and my mom had a piece of like clothesline wrapped around him, and
What?
tied around him, and she was standing in the window holding that rope clothesline.
What? In case he fell off, then a clothesline was going to hold him.
And she was the whole time like, "Be careful, Bill, be
A
careful."
clothesline like around his waist.
Yeah, and then she's just
Oh, that's
holding it.
classic.
Careful,
classic.
Bill. And he's like, "Be quiet, I know what I'm doing."
If we ever do that, remember to get a real heavy-duty chain and attach it to the wall.
Exactly.
I mean, wait, I'm still picturing this. She's in the bathroom window.
Yeah.
Okay, so if he falls off the roof, even his sheer weight of falling, she's going to stop
Yeah, that's right. That's
with
right.
said
And
clothesline.
then the whole time she's yelling at him, and he's like, "What?" He's been a man. I can do it. I can do it.
That's a guy.
And she's like,
Yeah.
"No, what are you doing?" I think that's the only reason he knew it was hopeless, but that's the only way he would go. She would let him go out there. I don't know.
Well, I posted on social media, too, that you were out there shoveling during this storm. A couple of stories now. I have a ton of. Everybody has a ton of stories. If you
Oh,
want to
yeah.
share those on our Facebook page, you can't do that. But where does the snow guy put the snow anymore? They're going to have to come through and the sidewalk plow. That's always an interesting thing too. Snowblower, excuse me. The sidewalk snowblower. He doesn't want to blow it into your sidewalk or even on your property, so he blows it on that little piece of land, maybe this wide, right, between the sidewalk and the street. And then the snowplow comes by, and he pushes it back on top of that then subsequently goes into the sidewalk. Sidewalk guy comes through. Are you serious? So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Although I have to say, You know, when they hadn't come through, it was bad because a lot of people walk in front of our house to get to family fair.
There's a lot of pedestrians
It's a
in
lot,
this neighborhood.
lot
Mhm.
better. It was a lot better last night when I went by. I was at least it wasn't very wide, but there was a walkable area. I was a little worried about there's some people that come through on wheelchairs. And
Yeah, I know.
maybe they ride the bus during this time. but-
Well, I had a new tenant, and I finally got him to confess that the tires don't really work in snow. He wanted me to come and have somebody, not me, I don't have a plow, to plow it back out. And we drove by it, and we said, well, it's been plowed. There's like little ruts of about 3 inches of snow. And so I talked to him last night. I said, try not to be an ass, which for me, and I said,
Not an easy job.
it's impossible. It's a New Year's resolution that I just will blow every hour. And so I said, do you have a snow shovel? Texted him. And so I got on the phone with him, and he says, no, I don't have a snow shovel. By the way, my tires are like bald. I'm like, okay, now this is my problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent the plow back over there and realized it's not my problem. But yeah, the people in the snow and getting rid of it, and you loved shoveling, so you were out there shoveling.
Yeah, and
By
I
the way-
and I shoveled up $20.
You did.
I did. I was shoveling, and all of a sudden, something pushing the scoop, and something popped to the top, and I'm like, "What's that?"
What sound? did it-
$20.
What sound did it make again when you're shoveling?
Yeah,
It's cute. Just
I
like
know. I
that.
was mad. Norm went
was-
over and got a guy to plow from, across the street
Yeah.
for $20, and I'm like
Yeah.
mad because it took my job. I'm not doing a good enough
know,
job.
No, you're doing a good job. I just wanted to help. Besides that, my car, it was parked differently, and it's in a different place. And I didn't like the idea of not. Well, there was nothing else to do,
Well, I
right?
could
mean,
get it
let's be
out.
honest. Everybody had the day off. So anyway, it got out thanks to new snow tires you purchased for me several years ago. I never really needed them because we live in the city till now. And but I saw even a car last night. Might have been the afternoon because it was still daylight, but it was down at Walnut and Prospect Street, wherever near downtown, and the car got stuck. Mm-hmm. I mean, he got stuck in that little rut that the plow inevitably leaves until they can come back and do it like a third time, and this she whatever was stuck, and I thought to myself, you don't have very good tires.
I don't know. I got stuck in that one. Just not bad. I mean, I had to back up a little bit, and then I could go forward. But I couldn't
yeah,
go.
you
I couldn't
can't.
move. That's
Well,
with my big new 4-wheeler with the
that's-
new,
That's
you
the thing
know,
with
new
those
tires.
with those intersections. Didn't mean to interrupt. With those intersections, when they move that snow, it leaves that rut that in the cross street, whatever they plowed last, and if you go right up to it, you can't get started. But it's an intersection; you have to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So then you back up about 4 feet, say a little prayer, hit the gas. Oh God, no, let there be a car coming. Ah! And that's about the only way you can get through it. And I did not go down by the Hotel Indigo. If we've had this discussion before, they built the Hotel Indigo and a lot of things like CVS Pharmacy, Ethan Allen. No, it wasn't Ethan Allen. It was Lauren Hanna. Anyway, at the corner of Carver and Garfield, and they built, the city planning decided that it'd be swell to put those buildings right up against the sidewalk. Well, where do you put the snow? And in downtown Traverse City, somebody was complaining about it this year. They said, well, I went down there 6 or 5 in the morning, and there's this big pile of snow in the middle of Front Street. I couldn't cross. Yeah, well, I used to work that time of day downtown. And, what else are you going to do? You're going to push them up against a merchant's window? Mm-hmm. There's nothing you can do. What do you do with it? So they put it in the middle of the street, bring by a snowblower, in case you don't know this, and they have the giant snowblower that then puts it in pickup trucks, and then they move it to various locations. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I wondered how they were going to do that when they build all that up there. It just... I don't know. Maybe they have a plan. I'm not really sure. But US 31 isn't exactly local jurisdiction. I mean, we plow it. But that's a federal highway.
I noticed when we went by the Hotel Indigo earlier, sometime over the weekend, that their entrances where the little steps are, they have sideways, and they had glass up against, So I guess if you snow blow, it doesn't go up on there. If they push the snow, it doesn't
I
go
know,
up
but what
on there.
about the plow when it throws a foot of snow?
I
If
don't
it would
know.
Be that.
But I did notice that they had glass, and I don't remember seeing that before. So
Well,
we do have one comment too.
Good.
Marcia says the moon is large and beautiful
Aw.
on my country view. I
Oh, that's
bet
nice.
it looked like it would be nice. Yeah.
Also, let's roll that video, and I want to say video for people who are smart enough not to go to the Cherry T ball drop, but I disagree. I wasn't really prepared for it. I have non-diabetic foot neuropathy, so I have numb feet, which is great because I couldn't feel a thing. I had sneakers on. And we went down there with Jacqueline and Karen and the rest of our gang, our militia. So we go down there, and there was 10 minutes. I hear Scott he's a great announcer in public places, big voice. And he said, 10 minutes to the ball drop. And I'm thinking, yeah, I haven't been standing here like an idiot for 45 minutes, but I'm glad we went. It was fun.
Yeah, we didn't dress right because we thought we were just going to a movie, and we went
to a movie, and
one
then we
thing
went to a dance, a little
Meyer
party, the
and-
people we knew.
Yeah.
And then it got to be close, so we went and crashed Jacqueline's party, which, we don't party, so I mean in the classical sense. So anyway, we were down there, and immediately we started walking downtown, and then we got there, and then the ball dropped, and it was beautiful roll tape,
Okay.
as they say, roll tape.
Now this one,
Yeah.
I believe, is before the ball drop. And Dave.
Yeah, that was Karen and Dave at the end.
All right.
Little nasty face at the end. I'm cold.
It was cute, I thought.
I thought so too. It was such fun. So I'm glad we went down there. I'm glad we did it. Came back and went to Dino's, our favorite place for subs, because it's close and we knew to pick up.
And pizza.
There were no more, and pizza, and there were no more deliveries. I mean, they were on the phone. No more deliveries. But
Yeah, we weren't planning on it.
They had to act like the soup Nazi. It was so busy down there. No pizza for you. Click.
Yeah.
And so we went down there, and then we came back, and the ball had already dropped, obviously, New Year's Eve. So I stayed up to watch it drop in New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Was that what it was?
Yep.
And then I didn't stay up till 2 to watch it
You were
drop.
close.
You might have in Mountain Time.
Yeah, I don't even know what city it was.
Yeah, we
I
were
was doing other
speculating.
things.
We
I
were
was
going
looking at my-
Vegas. We were having the conversation in Las Vegas. Is that Western or Mountain? I still don't know. I think it's Western.
I'm pretty sure it's Western.
pretty sure it's
I'm
Western,
90% sure.
So maybe Denver. I don't know.
I
what
don't
it
know
was.
what they were showing.
Anyway, I
it
went
looked
to
to me
bed.
like they're showing Vegas. Maybe there was. Maybe they're going to just switch to. I don't know.
And for our New
Boring
Year's,
city in the mountain.
for our New Year's Eve party, we what was I going to say? Something else.
Our New Year's Eve party
No,
here.
not the one that we went to. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. But anyway, it was a good time had by all. No New Year's resolutions for me, and I believe for you.
Yeah,
Boy,
mine are like daily. Like we just had a
Daily,
reading
sure.
the other day that we make daily resolutions.
I have to watch my P's and Q's every single day, and that's what it is. It's not necessarily, and I didn't have a New Year's resolution of like to lose weight. God knows my doctor's been on my ass. I had a big lifestyle change. One bad habit turned into another bad habit of eating, and part of it's going to be temporary, but part of it I have to work on anyway. So yesterday I grilled up some chicken thighs on the George Foreman and let the grease run off, right? Now, thighs aren't as lean as breasts, we know, but nonetheless, and I gave it to the dogs. Whoops.
Oh, the grease for those, it's not too bad.
No. So
It's
anyway,
good for their coats in the winter.
I did that, and then I put some seasoning on it, and I had that, and then I went for 2 different walks because taking all 3 dogs on a walk isn't exactly great fun. And
You've been taking them for daily walks. It's great
yeah, and
for
I've been
them
going
and for
a
you.
walk, and we'll see what happens. So it wasn't really a New Year's resolution. It was like today I want to eat healthier, but I still have that sugar thing going on. So I don't
And
know.
I said, today I'm going to get enough sleep.
Oh, you did, and you slept half the day. I know.
I got up in the morning. You're like, you're trying to get, like, telling me, come on, it's time to get up. And so I got up and I laid on the couch, fell asleep. And I'm like, oh, and I got up again. I'm like, I'm still tired. So I went back to bed. And I think it was like 1 or 2.
Oh, I know what I was going to
Then
say.
I was finally ready.
And I only wanted to wake you up because I was afraid you couldn't sleep that night. Why I'm in charge of that, I don't know. I guess it's something, there's something left over from my childhood. So,
Yes, Daddy.
well, we were talking about New Year's Eve and on the show, and we mentioned all the songs that we didn't know, right?
Yeah.
So we're
Are we getting
watching
old?
the top 10 songs, and you really have to stay up on top 40 because these groups throughout the decades have come and they go, and they're a one-hit wonder, and they're gone. And so on Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve with Ryan Seacrest, they still paid homage to Dick Clark for that. They had those songs by Imagine Dragon and Khalid and the number one by Ed Sheeran, and he came out and sang those, and I went, I'm hip. I know what the top 10 songs are. Because I
Right.
don't really, the only reason I tried to stay up with top 40 hits is so I didn't turn into my parents.
I know.
We'd have the radio on, and the Beatles would come on, and they go, turn that off. Actually, Motown with the screaming, high vocals would just
Right.
absolutely drive them nuts. And to this day, when the radio does that, well, even you're a metalhead. She has
I'm
this rock
not.
on. You
I'm
so
not
are.
metal.
No,
Not
not
he-
metal,
not heavy metal.
not Black Sabbath, but you like your classic rock.
Yeah.
You're with the guitar, and it always goes off in my head. Boy, my parents had turned the channel there.
Right. Well, we were lucky because our kids listened to what we listened to. They're older now. They're in their they're 30. But in fact, your daughter's dream concert we're going to is the Eagles. So we were lucky that way. It's just now the grandkids or whatever, the next generation below them.
Yeah.
That's the music we don't know. But although it's funny because I was talking about that to Karen Field, on the way down to see the ball drop, how we had gone to that dance and the music, we're getting old, I guess, da-da-da. And finally we got down there and she said, well, I don't know this music. But she said, I am in my 40s still.
Oh, yeah.
Like she was offended that I was
Grasping that.
she was offended that I was putting, including her in our age group.
Well, the family dance that we went to, for all ages, obviously, no drinking, and so we go to that, and they started playing songs, and you're a little lost. I remember Cypress Hill, Insane in the Brain, but I had a DJ service forever, so I knew those songs, and they threw them back 20 years. That's like, Funky Cold Medina. You remember that, right? And Wild Thing by Tone Loc. Now 25 years old. Oh, you see
Yeah.
her shrugging your shoulders. You
Well,
don't
even
know.
I didn't like that kind of music. Even they played
Oh,
Michael
see, I
Jackson.
had
I
to know it.
recognized the song, but I didn't like it.
Yeah, I had to know it. But, it's also kind of interesting. I'm going to explain this I'm going to say this with an explanation.
All right.
I worked at a radio station that played old music, and I still am freaking out that I'm not going to get off on a tangent yet, that I know Pat Boone, I know Marty Robbins, I know Johnny Mathis. I can tell from their singing, not just Christmas songs either, but I know those songs, and I had to because we would play them along with the 60s and early 70s. And so I know what my parents were listening to. They didn't make the jump to Elvis.
Your mom loved Elvis, but she secretly, I think. But yeah, they
But-
didn't make
but
or the Beatles.
That was about it.
The Beatles were around your mom's age, not too far.
Yeah, but she got married when she was like 12 or something.
Yeah,
so.
because I always thought that was funny. The Beatles were closer in age to my parents than they were to me.
To you, sure.
But they thought that the Beatles were ruining the world. I mean, later she went to the Beatles concert, fake Beatles concert here at the Cherry Festival,
Fake Beatles.
and then danced at it.
1964, the tribute band.
Yeah.
Otherwise known.
Yeah, and she said, I remember she told me that's what she said. We thought they were going to ruin the world.
Traverse City.
Wait, one more song thing.
Sure, go ahead.
I just be one of the people that we missed that passed in 2017. That somehow I missed his passing was Al Jarreau,
Yeah.
and he was a jazz, I guess you'd call him jazz singer, and
Top 40 hits. We're in this love together.
he did have some top 40 hits,
Yeah.
and he played for Moonlighting, the theme for the TV show Moonlighting.
Sybil Shepherd and Bruce
Yeah.
Willis.
But I was a huge fan. I
Mm-hmm.
went to see him in concert maybe 3 times, and he was quite, I know he had problems with alcohol, but he was quite the performer. He could play, with his mouth, he would make music that you would think would be like a flute,
Mm-hmm.
and different things. And
Major talent.
here I am a rock person, but I loved his concerts. I loved his music. I had every one of his albums,
Yeah.
and
They went back and showed old black and white video of Chuck Berry, Fats Domino, and you realize, wow, black and white. On our show, the one that aired Saturday, might have been recorded Friday, whatever. We failed to mention Tom Petty.
yeah, that's a big one.
We had the list right in front of us, and Tom wasn't on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was watching the New Year's, it was Sunday morning. I think it was 7 and 4, actually, that had a string of those that passed in 2017. And they didn't have Aaron Moran from Happy Days on there.
Mm-hmm.
Joni Cunningham. And I was kind of surprised by that. So I guess we're off the hook. Let's see, on the news today, and we're not seeing a whole lot, so forgive me if I can't share a lot with you.
A lot of accidents.
Yeah, a lot of accidents.
fact
We
that-
had the house fire where the 91-year-old perished on Front Street. But the reporters don't work a lot, as our news team didn't. They don't work a lot, so they start Tuesday morning with not a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, there were so many car accidents on, was it Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah.
Whichever was the biggest one. What was it? Saturday was the biggest. That, Grand Traverse 911 has the Facebook page where they list all the accidents. They stopped about 2:00 in the afternoon and they said, we're calling in extra people to answer the phone. We're not going to be able to post accidents. We just don't have the time.
They don't have the manpower and people calling in. There was a call to get the plows off the road in Leelanau County.
Yeah.
They said till 2, and then I went back on social
Like
media
overnight. Yeah.
where it is now, certainly. And anyway, they said the plows are off the road now till 4 in the afternoon in Leelanau County. And there's only so much overtime, and your budget is so much. So as far as these little strips of hard snow, the word crap comes to mind, but that's not very descriptive. Or
They're
maybe
just-
it is.
Well,
In the intersections, they didn't have time to go through and do it all.
they just try to encourage people to stay off the road.
Oh, I have to go
know.
back to right. Well, and you have
It
to
was
be, we talked
dangerous.
about that too. You got to be very careful. Stay off the road. Next thing you know, somebody's going to be on the phone, because I was in broadcasting in the traditional sense before the new way. And, we had advertisers. I spent $1,000 advertising my New Year's sale on your station, and your announcer just said stay off the roads. So I had this balance. Do we keep people from dying, or do we promote Joe's hardware store? I mean, it's just nuts. So the policy became, unless the police say stay off the road, don't say it. Just say be careful driving, but don't even say if you don't have to be on the roads, don't. And people still say it, but I remember advertisers just getting the panties in a bunch. Man, they were upset. So anyway, you rolled those videos.
Mm-hmm.
The other news, and again, a lot of the local news, as I had mentioned before, even in the older media, we used to not have a news person on. Country continues to battle brutal cold temperatures. We're not through it yet, but in Minnesota, and they had 10, 14 below. But Northern Michigan made the national news, I noticed, with our cold temperatures. President Trump addresses plans for 2018. I think the stock market is going to do really well. Before the close for the holiday, it was down, but there's always that little bit of profit taking. Wasn't down a lot. A Traverse City resolution run. An opportunity to close down the streets of Traverse City again for an hour.
I know if I would have known about it, I would have done it.
I know.
I should realize every holiday we
Run
have
on the Tart
we have a
Trail, run
run.
on the Civic Center. I don't know. It's
It's
just
just
me.
more fun to run down the road.
It's more fun to have the cops out there making double time to block a road for runners. I tell you, it's just, here's why. All those runs start at 9 a.m. I used to get out of work in downtown Traverse City at 9 a.m.
That's why you hated them.
That's why. Exactly. It's purely selfish. So I would take Grandview Parkway, try to get there, go all the way down to Garfield, and then double back because all the streets are set up. Anyway, Wexford County Ski Hill skiers welcome New Year with open arms. I can imagine they were out skiing downhill. We talked about powder skiing. I'm not a good enough skier. I want to see the tips of my skis, I just can't do
well,
that.
around here they pretty much flatten the powder. They might leave a hill or two with some powder on it, but you don't get much powder skiing here.
Here's an interesting story from Pellston. I want to share this one with you. Pellston man in jail for drunk driving. How did he get caught? He stopped to help the police.
I can just see that.
I know it.
I'm being drunk. I'm helpful, yeah.
Officer.
They need my help, I can tell.
It's really not funny. Troopers called to a rollover accident, Larks Lake Road, around 8:30 Sunday night. All right. That was New Year's, yep. When a driver pulled up and told them where the woman involved in the accident had gone, troopers then noticed the man, he might have had too much to drink. Actually, they kind of stated it was obvious. With his tip, however, they were able to find the woman whose car had rolled over. The man had previously helped the woman and her dog out of their car after the crash, then drove them to a residence. The woman also arrested for drunk driving, by the way. Her blood alcohol, 2.5 times the legal limit. That's something I shared the other day. I've never been stopped for drunk driving, obviously never busted, nor you, but I can see somebody having, too much to drink, making a bad judgment because alcohol makes you think you're more sober than you are, right? And getting behind the wheel of a car. But New Year's Eve, you don't know that the police are probably doubling at least their awareness of people who are driving under the influence on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, which, I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Then
It's a
again,
hard-
if you have a real problem with alcohol, I can see it because it is a big party holiday and
You just don't have your judgment.
yeah,
It's wrong.
That's the
One time I was driving back from a meeting downstate, and this was before cell phones, I was on I-75, and there was like one lane. It's a big snowstorm, and a guy had flipped his car, and he was standing there, and I thought, I stopped to say, do you need help? And he goes, well, can I get a ride up to the gas station or the next rest area, which was like 20 miles up or something. I'm like, what am I going to, I don't want to leave him out in the middle of the woods, So I let him in, and then I could smell he was drunk. And then he started begging me, like, I'll pay you like $100, $200 to drive me to a house, and then I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do, And I said, I did what I went to the next rest stop. I'm like, you get off here, you figure it out.
right.
Right. But I should have never picked him up. But
Well, he might have froze to death. You said he was out in the woods.
yeah, well, no, I was out on I-75, but it was like really like late at night, on a weeknight, and there
I
weren't very
think
many
you did the
cars. It
right
was down to
thing.
one lane.
You
It
don't
could have
need
been a
to turn
killer or
his
something. But
I know you don't need to turn his bad judgment into a death sentence. Anyway, I wanted to mention this. Excuse me. North Korea has put out an olive branch saying they would like to have a delegation to the Winter World Olympics. That starts up in a month. And he said,
Wow.
I would like to send a delegation. Everybody's like, well, that's really nice. Here comes the other story. Kim Jong-un announced yesterday he had a nuclear bomb button on his desk. and I want $1 billion. I mean, what a
Oh, so what, he's going to push the bomb unless we let him come to the Olympics or what? What does he want $1 billion for?
no! I said $1 billion. That was Dr. Evil.
Oh, got it.
Not everybody got it. No, don't worry about it. White House has yet to release an official response, but when Trump was asked about it, he said, "We'll see.
I'd say no.
We'll
I mean,
see."
we've not let people come to the Olympics that were had better behavior than them.
To be fair, that was a unrelated story. There was two stories. One that he wants to send a delegation to South Korea, and the other one saying that he has a nuclear bomb.
Oh, and that's the
button.
one we'll see is on. But what do you think? I don't think they should let him come. The answer should have been no right away. Isn't there somebody else that's not allowed? It's not like Russia or somebody that they said.
Russia, part of the Russian team, if memory serves, that part of their delegation cannot come because of doping.
Oh, that's right.
18 states, by the way, providing their minimum wage employees with higher paychecks.
Including
with increases-
Michigan.
Including Michigan, yep. Between 5 cents and $1 an hour. And, I don't want to get too political with this, but I mean, I was thinking about this. McDonald's is starting at $11 an hour, right? Minimum
Yeah.
wage was 9.25.
That's what it went up to just now.
And then, well, no, it's been 11 for a while.
No, 9.25 is what the minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
mhm. So I wish I made that much.
Well, when I was listening today to the news, and it said that minimum wage had gone up to 9.25, and this is bad. That's how old I am. My first pharmacist job, I made $9 an hour.
Oh, I remember my first job in radio, $3.25 an hour.
And I remember that hearing about the guys at Ford Motor had just had an increase. The unions just had an increase to $11 an hour. And I was
You were like, I'm a pharmacist.
which is what did I go to school for?
Well, it's the
Well, now I make a bit more than that, but
it's the
but
beauty
it's
of
amazing
just a bit. It's the beauty of the unions and what they were able to provide in the way of benefits too. It was unsustainable. A lot of people. I was taught back in the 70s that automation or robotics, right, which is still the buzz, was going to replace a lot of workers in the automotive field. They said, all these layoffs in the automotive field, and people were blaming, you're driving a Toyota, or back then, an Isuzu, or I guess they still make them, Mazda, or something. It's like, first of all, there's no such thing as a car built exclusively in one country. Hasn't been for decades. Number two, it wasn't that. It was robotics as much as anything. Anyway, federal minimum wage of $7.25. The federal minimum wage has not changed since 2009.
and they can pay in Michigan. You can pay 16 and 17-year-old workers less than the $9.25, but still, whew. The problem is you still can't find enough people.
No, you can't. Well, that was my point. McDonald's is at 11, and I was wrong, by the way. The minimum wage now is up to $9.25
yeah,
an
that's
hour.
what I was saying. Yeah.
So it was $8.90 last week. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So anyway, minimum wage always kind of shakes me because, first of all, during your training period, sorry, I'm still getting over this cold, still have residue. So if you're in the training phase at a job, they don't have to pay minimum wage. If you're under 18, you are not due the minimum wage.
No, but
But
they
you
do
have to pay that. Well, it's a free market economy. If you want employees, you're going to have to pay more.
Yeah, I know. I always thought that too.
But what I'm wondering about is that Burger King is at $10.30 an hour, and McDonald's is at $11 an hour. If I have to wear a polyester stretch pant suit, I'd probably rather work at McDonald's. And then you take a look at that, 50 cents an hour over 40 weeks, 40 hours a week. We're talking $20. And your taxes go up a little bit, so we're talking about less than that per week. But how do you live on that? You don't. You get educated. It's a starter job. It's for people who have their first job or can't find it or love it.
Well,
Good friend of mine is the manager, by the way, the managers at these fast food restaurants, the real managers, make a lot of money, always have.
Yeah, and you can, if you don't have if you don't have an education, you can move up to management positions in these locations.
Well, certainly. Now, but
There
a
is-
manager of McDonald's, you know about the Mick College or the Mick University or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You actually go. They move you. You go to a different city and you get trained.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're the real deal, and that's a great thing because they teach you how to deal with personnel, which would be your biggest biggest problem. There was a gal down at the Marathon, whatever, and I was in there, and she seems to be working all the time, and I said, well, what's the deal? Well, I got to come in when people call in sick or they say they're stuck or whatever, and it's the oldest trick in the book. But I said to her, what a manager needs to do is fire your worst offender, make it really public that you fired this person, and everybody else will get in line. Guess what she said? I can't afford to fire anybody. These are the only people I have. Even though they're goof-offs, they call in, they do this and do that. I have to cut them slack. I can't fire one.
No, and see,
Wow.
back in when there were a shortage of pharmacists. Now you can't open a pharmacy without a pharmacist. We had a lot of pharmacists we had a few pharmacists that took advantage of that and goofed off, and then all the hardworking people were mad. Why are they allowed to goof off and I have to work hard? And so I fired somebody because
that's very effective.
yeah, I mean, it was hard, but it had to, it just was the only fair thing for morale, and everybody else, worked harder. And we got through it. I had to work a little bit extra myself to cover, but we got through it. And sometimes that's what you have to do. You think you don't have enough, but you got to bring it up. The morale's going to just kill you.
It is. I'm going to specifically mention Grand Traverse County, and then it remind me to talk about Central Dispatch, by the way. Oh, I've never gotten along with them, even when I worked alongside the police. But I was thinking about you're saying firing people if they goof off and such.
Even if you can't afford it, you got to do it.
Yeah. Anyway, I forgot
Sometimes.
what
You
that
can't,
was.
it's just not right,
Well, I know what I was going to say. In Grand Traverse County, they have a manager who's not union, and this particular manager, who's since retired, had a bunch of IT people, information technologies. They were the computer geeks that came around and told you to make sure that everything was turned on and plugged in. I mean, seriously, right? Well, this comes from an IT person. You get grumpy right away when you have to deal with people who don't know computers. Maybe you know that feeling. Dealing with people who don't know computers. Like me?
You're the one that gets grumpy.
Oh, well. I get frustrated because I don't know what I'm doing.
And you're very, very hard to deal with.
I'm like, here, fix it. That's my job has always
Can
been.
I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this?
Do this. Fix it.
What are
It's
you
broken.
asking me? Can I do?
Well, the thing that pops up too and says, warning, your action may cause a virus. I'm like, I don't care. Fix it. But
like
anyway,
running-
at Grand Traverse, I'm going to get back to the story because I know I'll forget, is that he had a bunch of employees that were union. Let's say that you have 4 employees, okay, in the union that work under you. 2 of them respond and fix things and work hard. 2 of them, kind of goof off, and you're fighting them all the time. Phone rings as a supervisor, and somebody says, I need somebody, and I need it fixed, and I need it right now. Are you going to go to the 2 that slack off? Or are you going to go to the 2 who work harder and get things done on time? And that's what happened. People who would work hard, even though they were union, they had that work ethic of, they own me 8 hours a day if you're full-time. They own you. You'll do the best you can, including speed. And again, I owe unions for my upbringing because my dad was a member and made good money, had health insurance and all that, still does. And, unions have their place. But the 2 that I worked in where I was in management,
No, but I've worked with unions too. If you follow the rules, if you have a bad employee, you follow the rules,
Yeah.
you can get rid of them. And there's nothing you can stop them. And then you need to do that. And you can't let it slack, let bad behavior go on just because you're afraid of the union having a grievance over it.
Well, you're absolutely right. The fireable offenses. I was the operations manager at a broadcasting facility. Not, it was pretty high level, and the only three things that we agreed on that you would be terminated for, and I love the third. First one was stealing, all right, or maliciously breaking something. The second one was assault. And I'm sure it's changed and every place is different. And the third one was, and I love this, insubordination. That's a beauty catch-all.
I love that one.
If the cops can't get you for anything else, they'll get you for, what is it? Gosh, I can't
Resisting.
remember. Nah, resisting. That's actually a crime. Oh, criminal mischief. Criminal. What am I being charged with? I just turned on somebody's sprinkler system. Well, you trespass, and that's criminal mischief. That's a beauty. Anyway, that's my experience there.
But
The
it's
minimum
still,
wage was $8.90. Now it's now $25. And let me finish this. Don't forget your thought. Many of these wage bumps, including Michigan's, come as a result of ballot measures with backing from union and workers' rights groups. So that's what they were able to accomplish. But again, try hiring somebody for minimum wage, especially if it's a nasty job. And we talked a bit about this as well. Why do the fast food workers behind the counter have a bad attitude? Why do the workers behind the counter go, "Yeah, welcome to, how can I help you?" Want to know why? Partially, it's an entry-level job. Partially because of you. And partially because of me. And it's how we treat them. I was the night manager at a restaurant, fast food. Yes, wasn't fast at the time. We were really slow. But it was a situation where people would come in and treat you like crap. And you cop an attitude and you say, boy, I just want a job working third shift all alone. I don't like people. They're mean to fast food workers. And they're not the most highly trained. Now, I happen to be, but this one customer had a terrible attitude. And it's like, wow. And one guy actually kicked out of the restaurant. That felt good. Okay, you need to leave. What? I haven't placed my order. No, you haven't, and you won't have an order. Good night. That was the beauty. But anyway, middle management isn't the place to be.
well, my thought was you were talking about fireable offenses.
Right.
Well, those are rare, but there is still a process of discipline. Okay, you're late, you miss. Okay, you're late this many times, or you do this many things. There are rules, or sets of rules, and you have written up for this, written up for that. Every place is different, and you make so many offenses, and then you can be fired.
Have you ever actually gone back and reread your employee handbook?
Yeah.
No! Have you really?
Well, I've been in management.
Oh, to reference it.
I
I
guess.
thought just as easy reading.
Yeah. I'm aware of things. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was
Well,
aware
a lot
of
of
it, too, but I never went back and reread it just to make sure I was right.
A lot of employers, that's part of your training now.
I
is to
know.
Read
it
all
is.
the policies and procedures.
But again, the minimum wage you can't find anybody for, and
Well, it still doesn't matter if you should know. People know if they're late so many times, if they're no call, no show, those kind of things.
right.
I mean, those are the kind
Well-
behavior. There other things happening with how their customer service, whatever.
Well, I
they're
know
being
that-
evaluated on various,
and you're right. Every
levels.
job is different because when I was in old-fashioned radio, it was if you're 5 minutes late, that ain't cool. Mm-hmm. You're there. 6 o'clock news, for instance, starts at 6 o'clock. Doesn't start at 6 o'clock in 30 seconds.
Right. That's
And
huge.
We're up against that too. We have some more leeway because we work for ourselves, but yeah, it is. So every job is a little bit different on that. Well, I've mentioned this before. The city police. I'm assuming it's still this way. If somebody called in sick and you were the low man on the totem pole, you had to work another 12-hour shift.
Wow.
So you'd have officers out there working a 24-hour shift. And I talked to a friend of mine who's still working, and I said, how you doing? He was on a traffic stop. I waited till he was free. And I said, how are you doing? He says, I am so tired. I'm going to fall asleep just standing here.
They're still doing that. Then.
And then you have to go home, sleep for as many hours as you can, and go back to work after 6 hours of sleep or 12
It doesn't
hours.
seem right when they're on the road driving.
It would be 6 hours of sleep, wouldn't it? Yeah. So anyway, that's the way it is. I thought this was interesting, though. The federal minimum wage, $7.25, has not been changed in 9 years. So everybody else, this is why, again, supply and demand, it takes care of itself. The federal minimum wage, $7.25. So the states have been the ones to increase that.
Well, my question is, so the president, did he sign the tax bill? Did that happen? I'm assuming.
He signed it, but they still have to go back to the House and Senate and hammer out some things.
Oh,
For instance, the president still wants to lure or lord over people's heads, and I voted for Trump, I'm here to tell you, and I'm not that disappointed. The man has a big mouth. I've said it all over the place, okay? I just wish he'd be a little bit more presidential. Having said that, he wants DACA. He wants to just easy before you take these kids that were children when they got smuggled into the United States, easy about just giving them amnesty, which we all know has to happen. You're not going to expedite them. That's just ridiculous. Nobody would be in favor of that. He says, but I'll let them stay if you let me build the wall,
okay.
right?
Then it
So
would-
if you fund my wall,
Uh-huh.
then I will let the illegals, children, stay here. That's the deal. He wants the wall, and that's a whole different discussion I'm not going to get into.
So that doesn't have anything to do with the tax bill.
It has to do with the fact that, no
Okay,
federal minimum wage is
Because
not in
this
the
is
tax
what
bill.
I was leading up to is I get more money in my paycheck this year.
That's
Yay,
right.
yay,
Good
yay,
for you.
yay. And
There
more,
you go.
I don't know. Well, the more write-offs, I don't know when it goes into effect, but that might be
It's
for
the
next
first
year. Yeah.
No, I don't know. I said something I didn't know. I said
Yeah,
now, but I don't
I'm
know
assuming it starts. It'll be the better write-offs will be for not the taxes we're about to do, but for next year's. It's still
Well-
more money in my paycheck. Yay! That's
that.
that's
My
my big
profits going to go up $100 a month because somebody moved. Oops. I don't raise rents traditionally unless you've been there 10 years. But when somebody moves and I take a look at the market,
the way the market's been going up. Yeah,
but look, my
and your rents are set low. Yeah.
my rents are low, and they will go up when somebody moves, but based on the fact that we allow a dog, pets,
And that-
preferably one. But the septic treatment plant charges a lot now to have your septic tank pulled and emptied, and I have 2 of those. My utilities aren't going down. My taxes are no longer going down. Not that they went down like they should have with the market crash, the real estate market, but and the utilities go up and everything goes up, and it's like, well, I have to keep up with it, So
And you
I
don't.
say I'm grossing in an extra $100 a month, but
Yeah.
realistically, and that's forced savings. It's not. I'm not in it for revenue. I'm dreaming that someday then we retire and sell them or pay them down and have an income.
Yeah, well, I see what you're saying. You don't charge enough for all the rentals to cover the expenses anymore because the expenses are going up and the actual market prices for rent, your rents are on the low side. So when
They are.
somebody moves out, you increase the rent to cover some of that. That's kind of what you're saying.
Right, and like I said, the one and I'm not going to announce it. Look at Craigslist if you're interested. Anyone planning to travel, changing the topic through Blair Township, right? Grand
Yeah.
Traverse County over the next few days, have an important road closure.
Lightener.
Let's see
They had a bad accident, rolled
They
over,
did.
and it was just a tanker truck, and now they want to clean it up. So it's going to be closed till northbound, I think, till Friday, right?
the eastbound lane of
Okay.
Beitner Road. So it might be, I don't know.
Yes,
I don't
probably
know.
right. They said something about going north,
But it's today at 9. So it's
Yeah.
in about 19 minutes here.
so if you
Scheduled
go that
to
way,
reopen on Friday. A detour will be posted for Rennie School Road to Williams Road through Blair County. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what's going on there. Let's see what else we have. New Year's baby surprises, parents born. Oh, New Year. No, wait. New Year baby surprises parents. Born Traverse City Hospital. We'll see this. We were kind of hoping
Aw.
that your niece would have hers.
I know she's coming soon, but then for her sake, I was just hoping for it to be the tax write-off. Not New Year's, but be the last one of 2017.
Yeah, did you get
Very
that right
soon,
off?
very
Well, you
soon,
can
I'm gonna have
New Year's.
another great niece. I can't wait.
I wonder. I never have seen somebody put on their resume, I was a New Year's baby, 1980.
I know, but it's fun. But we do have a New Year's baby in our extended family that you'll see. She'll be at the party next week probably. And ever since I remember she was a year old, on New Year's, New Year's Day, we'd be have my brother would have the New Year's Eve party, and then at midnight we'd have Christina's birthday party, and so that was kind of fun.
Munson Hospital's New Year's baby was born 8 a.m. on New Year's Day,
Aww.
and
her parents were born
at the end of a long, unexpected night for her mom, according to Colleen and Dad Tim. Camilla's due date wasn't until early February. Wow.
Ooh.
Colleen began having contractions around 3 a.m. She and Tim made their way to the hospital since she was born 6 weeks early, obviously, in the NICU. Her parents say that she's doing well. It's very unexpected and shocking for us. We didn't think it was possible. Yet another reason this year won't be one to forget. Mom and Dad celebrated the anniversary on New Year's Day.
Oh, wow.
On New Year's Eve, yeah.
Oh,
On New Year's Eve,
fun.
they had their anniversary. New Year's Day, they have a baby.
Well, I'm glad the baby was okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Aw.
That's
That's
early.
neat.
That's
You
early.
said and the parents were born? Or no?
The parents had an anniversary on New Year's
Oh,
Eve.
okay. I thought you said that they were both born at Munson too. That's funny. If
The
it was.
parents?
No, I thought that's
oh,
what
I
you
don't
said.
think so.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, that's kind of what we have in the news today. There's not a whole heck of a lot. As I mentioned, it's a holiday weekend, and so they're not digging a lot. But then again, let's face it. We're trying to be honest here. There's not an awful lot going on in northern
Yay.
Michigan. I mean, yeah, goodness
Snow.
gracious, that's great.
It's the biggest news.
Snow is the lead story. Let's go over to upnorthlive.com,
Year's.
as a matter of fact. A brief break in the lake effect snow today, but it won't last very long. Well, thanks for that.
Yeah, there have been a few times when the northern lights have been out and we just haven't had the clear skies. Although you go, and it's funny though, you go to the middle of the state and they've had sun. If you want, they don't have the problems with the seasonal affective disorder. They
Yeah.
won't be having it like we are.
I know. I
Oh my
wonder
gosh,
how
we've had
real
so
that
many
is too,
clouds.
right?
Yeah,
I want-
eventually, with this cold air and how much ice that there is in the lake, the bays and all that, the lake effect's going to stop. The lake effect clouds and lake effect snow, because that's what's causing it, the cold air with the warm water. But if the water gets cold enough, it will stop.
I neglected to mention this earlier, and I need to mention it now. High winds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You know what that
More-
means.
More cool ice formations on Lake Michigan.
Yeah, for you to take pictures of.
Yeah.
I get cool pictures, too. I go to webshots.com. I know it's the thrill of the hunt. You can buy mushrooms, too, but you want to be out hunting morel mushrooms. Mm-hmm. So I get that. But anyway, it will be interesting to have those winds. High temperature on this day back in 1897. I remember it well. It's 55. Record low in 1982 of 8 below.
Whoa.
And so we are definitely closer to that than not, as we have a temperature expected of -2 overnight tonight.
Whew.
And Wednesday, 70% chance of snow, high of 18, high of 2 on Thursday and Friday.
Man.
And then the warmth, as I said,
Phew.
relatively on the weekend. See, now this forecast is a whole lot different than the other one. They're calling for a high of 24 on Monday, and I had 34. So how far downstate are you? I think is really what that depends on there. 2 men arrested for breaking into a car 20 hours ago. So we'll take a look at that. That must have been at about 11 o'clock in the morning. This is in Grand Traverse County. They broke into a car, and then they stole a phone, and then they stole money. Yeah. It happened at the Village in Glen. I forgot what they named this thing here. We have to...
Yeah, it had to be Glen Arbor.
no, that's not Grand Traverse County, though.
Oh, yeah.
Here it is, finally. Happened at Village Glen Apartments early Sunday morning. Grand Traverse Sheriff's Office says the theft happened when the vehicle's owner made a quick stop at the complex.
Huh? Was it unlocked or something?
It says they broke into, but breaking and entering doesn't necessarily mean they broke anything either.
Mm-hmm.
So illegal entry, breaking and entering. Sergeant told me once if you cross over the threshold where there's a door, it's breaking and entering. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
According to the owner, they returned to the vehicle when a person was going through it. Oh.
Yeah.
After searching the scene, deputies tracked the suspects. How did the police track the suspects?
In the snow.
Yes, that's it, in the snow.
And the owner's like, that way.
I said,
Those tracks that are going that way.
I said to the cop, I said, most of these criminals aren't very smart. He said, thank goodness. Yeah. 24-year-old man arrested, charged with larceny from an auto. 27-year-old man arrested for outstanding warrants and larceny from an auto. So he already had warrants for his arrest and decided to go out and steal again.
There's you have to check with your insurance. I believe it's your homeowners to make sure that you have your policy includes unlocked doors.
In your house?
Because of the contents of your car are usually covered under your homeowners.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and so either one, check and see. Make sure it costs like $10 a month or something like that. But you have to make sure that they don't have to prove forced entry.
Yeah.
If
you're going to break into my trunk, you'll find jumper cables. That's it. Mm-hmm. And then if you break into my car, which they say don't lock, it's a convertible, and I can't see somebody slicing through it. That's too much work.
Mm-hmm.
Too
Yeah.
much work to be a crook. That's too much work. They'll get a lock set. Mm-hmm. An exterior door lock set. Here's the story about the Cherry T ball drop. It says thousands of people rang it in. Giant cherry that read 2018 was lowered. No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
Giant
it was.
red cherry that read 2017 was lowered.
Oh, but
And
it
as
turned
soon as
to
it got there, it turned to 2018.
Yeah.
And there was a picture on social media showing 2017. And a friend of mine, he put, why does it say 2017? Well, it turned to 2018. It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. It's really cold out here, but a lot of people said it should be fun, according to somebody mentioned here. It's bumping, man. The music's really loud. It was. It's impressive. Yeah. DJ Connection, I believe, is the guy who did a nice job. Every year, the event raised money for local charities. This year's donations go to the Salvation Army. And this was good, and the Cherry Festival got involved in helping to organize this. I think I told the story before. I went down to the Cherry Tea Ball Drop. Might have been one of the first few years. And I was down there helping out Crystal, and everybody had to ask, well, what do we do? And if you didn't have the initiative to say, well, what do you need me to do? They just stood around. A lot of young muscle was around there. And so they really needed some organization. They've come a long way. They brought in the National Cherry Festival. But the great thing about the Salvation Army, they raised $80,000 in how many years? Like 9 years or something. It wasn't very much considering the size of the crowds because they didn't have an efficient way of doing it. Now, you didn't have to pay to go in. It was a donation. But we paid. And they had the Salvation Army kettles right there at the entrances where most people would go. Again, could you go around on the sidewalks? You could. You Scrooge.
And they had fencing to kind of narrow it down, so you had to walk in next to the kettles. Where before, they might have been there, but I never noticed
I
them.
never noticed them either.
Yeah.
And so they did that, and then they raised some real serious coin. And so, all's well that ends well on that one. So I was going to share another story here that had to do with I did that already, New Year's Salvation Army. So that's what's going on.
It still doesn't say how many people they thought.
Didn't.
Yeah.
What would you say? I'd say 1,000 or less. There's 8,000 for the
I couldn't
Christmas
see.
lighted parade.
I couldn't see. The other streets down the other streets. There, I know we were on the east side of the Cherry Ball, and I know the west side. I've been there before. The west side generally has more people than that, and then there's people down whatever street that is. Is that Cass?
Yes, Cass
Yeah.
in front.
Yeah, Cass is, generally more down there, but I thought they were less. I'd say 2,000, 3,000. Well, if they said 8,000 were at the,
Yeah, but that was stretched over 4 or 5 blocks.
yeah, but then when they all squished together to see the cherry,
Oh,
that
there was
they-
more than there was down there, though. But
yeah,
I
I'd
see
say,
what you're saying.
yeah, I'd say like maybe 2,000, 3,000.
2,000? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but-
want to mention this one, too, might as well. The Ludington Fire Department, but this really goes for everybody. Shovel
Mm-hmm.
out your fire hydrant, please. The city will eventually get around to clean out the fire hydrants or rural areas even. They will. What if they need to get in there? If you have a snow blower or
Shovel.
somebody who's snow plowing, you can't get right up next to the hydrant. But, clear those out, and that's what Ludington is mentioning right there.
Do we have one around here? I don't think I remember seeing one around our property.
No. As I've told my renters, I don't tell them this anymore. If the place catches on fire, I want you to get out. I want your pets to get out. And anything that's really valuable, I want you to get out of the house if it's safe. And after that, I want you to wait 15 minutes to call the fire department.
Oh, gosh. You do not. Don't come and arrest him over this.
Anyway, yeah, the idea was, you know what? I'd like to rebuild that house. Because guess who worked on it? Me.
Yeah. Norm's dad always said that he's seen Norm, what's that called? Caulk a house
Caulk.
together. Basically. But there are the fire safety things. We have upstairs one of those metal ladders that folds up that you can click a hook on the window and get out, say there was a fire, if somebody was upstairs and couldn't get down the stairs, there's
have
things like that
ladders.
you have to think about, to do that.
From The Ticker and Beth Milligan, tonight, City Commission will reconsider a special land use permit, or SLUP, for a controversial 96-foot development in downtown Traverse City, even though developers are no longer planning to proceed with the project. But you need to address it. Commissioners will review the SLUP for 2 tall buildings at the corner of Pine and West Front Street. Okay, think Jan.S. Hamburg downtown. That's Pine before it turns
Yeah.
into State.
That seemed
In
like
order-
it was going to be a nice development, but I know they were tall.
I'm sorry.
Well, I went in and one of the developers they had an open house, and
Oh, I didn't know that.
that was a year or two ago. Yeah, and he was waiting for you to get a massage or something, and he took us up on the balcony, and he explained what they're going to do and showed me plans for the different levels, and it sounded nice.
I'm going to share the rest of the story, but it just cracks me up a little bit. I'm sorry, Kingsley Village Council, but they dragged their feet for so long. They missed out on a huge medical marijuana plant
Yeah.
that would employ a lot of people. And, well, we're not sure. Well, we need to look at this. Well, you know what? That is a business that rivals Silicon Valley. Get on the stick. Do it now. So anyway, they lost. Well, we'll get somebody else, they said. Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's a
it's-
great attitude.
for
I'm
like-
going to let my employee do that too. Yeah, we lost a whole group of people, but more people will come into the restaurant.
Yeah. Well, and they looked at it, and we're going to have like 20,000 jobs. Now it's like 3,000
It wasn't 20, but it was a lot.
or 20,000 something.
Yeah, there's maybe
20
2,000 now, 300 or something. I mean, it wasn't.
Maybe
that
it was
much.
dollars,
I don't know.
20,000. I don't know. Whatever it was, but it went from 20 to 3.
It went away for sure. Commissioners will review that for the 2 buildings after, and they have to do this in compliance with the Michigan Court of Appeals after Judge Philip Rogers vacated a SLUP for the original in March of 16. So what? Almost 2 years ago.
Well, this is what the whole vote was about for Proposition 3, C or 3 or whatever it was.
Indirectly it was.
Yeah, it was that building.
But this has to do with the State Court of Appeals ruling when the developers and I'm not going to ad lib into this because it's a news story, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, as Pine Street Development LLC has abandoned the request, it's not the intention of the public hearing to lead an approval of that, but rather to eliminate any argument. Court of Appeals noted that among deficiencies in the Commission's original analysis of the SLUP request, evidence and rationale determining that the development would be adequately served by police protection was lacking.
Well, that doesn't make any
You know,
sense.
it's just gets into stuff that it makes your eyes glaze over. You know.
Yeah, really. Well, the truth is, if the law that was passed or whatever proposition says that we have to vote for every tall building, then we should have to vote for them.
Well, I think that's costly, and I think that's why we elect our city commissioners.
But it's too late
You know,
now.
people
That
say
was
we
voted
want a
in.
right to vote, and that's the other thing I want to mention as you're walking around or whatever, and a petitioner comes up, and many of you have already signed it. You signed it.
No, I didn't sign it.
No. Let me start over.
I know which one you're talking about. I didn't sign it. I told you somebody asked me to.
Oh, yeah. They say, well, this redistricting, because of the latest census, we want it to be a vote of the people. The reason they want you to sign that, to be a vote of the people, is because they'll know they'll lose to the Republican majority, and that's how it works.
Right.
It's a representative republic. I'm sorry. You know.
I know. No, I
To
didn't
the
sign
winner
it.
goes the spoils. Well, I just want people to know that because they're signing it saying, in the heart of hearts, well, of course we should be able to vote on redistricting. We're not going to let politicians do it. No, it's not. It's about sour grapes that they aren't going to get their way this time around. They, meaning I'm a libertarian. Libertarians, we wake up every election day and we wonder how much we lost by. We look at the percentages to see if we can get that little government funding. Libertarians' biggest third party, but still, by far and away. But Libertarian Party has been shot a little bit, and then we're almost out of time. But I want to just expound on that. It's like the Tea Party, how they got swallowed up by every Republican, and they weren't really sticking to what the Tea Party was about, fiscal conservatism. And this doesn't mean cutting social programs either. It's about cutting waste. The $50,000 Pentagon wrench that was talked about by 60 Minutes 40 years ago. Make government efficient that you can. Having said that, they hijacked that, and now what is I fear being hijacked is the thing of the mob rule, and that is we need to vote on everything, and that's not really what we were set up to do, if that was even my thought.
Why don't we, when we end, why don't we end again with what we already
The
showed?
ball drop?
Yeah, in
Why
Traverse
not?
City. So
It comes with audio, so let's just let that go.
yeah,
We
and
made-
hopefully I'll do it in the right order this time.
We made sure that Auld Lang Syne wasn't playing because the Facebook authorities with Facebook will bounce you and let you go to YouTube, and then you can run all the licensed music you want.
No, you can't. They
Did
drop.
they tighten that?
They block you too. Not
Did
quite
they
as
really?
badly as.
Oh my!
Not as
whenever
quickly
I
and
wanted
tightly as.
whenever I
Facebook.
wanted to listen to a song, and that the record industry was criticized by people who said, you know what, with this suing high school girl because she went to Rhapsody or to whatever the first one was, I forgot, and it was a sharing site with music, and she downloaded X number of songs, and so the record industry said, we're going to make an example of you. $500,000. Well, it was silly. First of all, the girl didn't have $500,000. They just wanted to deter everybody else from doing it. And there's always going to be a way around it. It's the same thing I feel a little bit, and this is a very confusing topic to get into right now, net neutrality. You know, where the providers can slow down or speed up certain sites. Private enterprise and private ingenuity is going to make you go around pretty much anything. Go with our provider because we won't slow down your sites. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Why is everybody all up in arms over this? It's like private enterprise will find its way around it.
Yeah.
So,
Our economy will do that.
but anyway, on this rockin' New Year's Eve here with Ryan Seacrest, it was interesting because a couple of the hosts were podcast stars
Oh yeah.
or Facebook stars or YouTube celebrities,
Yeah.
and they were out there, and that put a fire in my belly and gave me some new ideas for 2018, going out with Man on the Street reports, more photos, more videos. I shared with a friend, I'm really bummed out that I put the word out on general social media, not just on the show. But to send us your pictures. I mean, somebody has a picture of somebody stuck in a snowbank, or like we need that, or somebody shoveling somebody else's driveway, or whatever. Neat pictures and videos. Send them to us. We'll put them on the show. And the bonus for you is you don't need to sit here and watch us behind what used to be a dining room table and do the show. Let's do that ball drop.
All right.
Roll video. I always wanted to say that. Roll video.
Okay. Let's see if I get it right this time.
Well, there's that.